you are also a host for a podcast as well. I believe it's Imperfect Heart, right?
A different program, yes.
Okay, yeah. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, actually, in a strange way, Imperfect Heart is responsible for the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Imperfect Heart is a podcast designed specifically for people with a particular heart condition, and it's a very common malady. 25% of the population plus has the condition, whereas only a portion of that population, arguably in size or arguable in size, is affected by it. And the condition is called a myocardial bridge. And what that condition is, it's when the coronary artery of the heart, instead of going over the heart like it does in most people, in people with this thing called a myocardial bridge, the coronary artery, the left anterior descending, the LAD, the widowmaker, goes through the heart. And so you can imagine that can cause problems. It's not supposed to go through the heart. If your primary artery that feeds the heart's blood is going through the heart is squeezing it every time it beats, right? And
that can't be good.
It's not. However, not everybody is symptomatic. And why, nobody knows. But just human dynamic and chemistry and exercise and fitness, and you name every medical and technical term, we're all different and we're unique. So I happen to have this condition, didn't know it. I mean, I've been a triathlete. I run, I ride, I cycle, I paddle, and never had an issue until I did. And that issue took place. I was 65 years old. I was training for a grueling cycling ride up in the Sierras. For those who ride here, it's called the Death Ride. And I get up there. I trained the whole time for it. I trained all year for it. The ride's in July. I get up there. That year, the ride gets canceled because of the Markleeville fire. And I'm so disappointed. You train all this time to get through this ride. And, it's 120 miles. It's 15,000 feet of climbing. It's no easy feat. And I don't get to do it. And it's like, okay, well, then I'm going to find something else to do. And so there's a ride that takes place in Carmel every year. So I said, okay, I'll go out and train a little bit for that. It's a little bit different, a lot less climbing, a lot less mileage, but it's a pretty fast-paced ride. I've done it before. I always get my butt kicked. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'll be good this year because I'm in great shape. Well, I go out for my next ride after the miss of the Death Ride, literally the very next time I go out, and I get the sensation in the middle of my chest. I'm like, whoa, that doesn't feel good. Look at my heart monitor. Everything looks fine. I'm not going to worry about it. I keep, go on and everything is fine. Next time I go out, same thing happens, lasts a little bit longer. I go out again and again. We call that denial. Anybody who has these issues, please, please, please don't do that. And fast forward, I end up having a heart attack. And I go to the hospital and they go, we don't know what's wrong with you. Like, you're fine. Nothing's clogged. Nothing's blocked. Everything looks great. We don't get it. Well, now, over time, I can't even walk around the block. It's October. They don't get it. They don't know what's wrong with me. Medical therapy isn't working. They're trying everything. And they kind of give up. And, the solutions weren't ones that I was accepting at all. I said, that's not going to happen. I said, there's got to be a solution. Somebody's got to know this thing someplace. They did identify that I had this thing called a myocardial bridge, but don't worry about it, Jeff. It's benign. It's not benign. And again, I'll fast forward through the story. I end up at Stanford, which is the #1 hospital in the country for this condition. They have a research team that studies it. And I'm a great candidate. I'm in great shape. But I can't do anything now. I can, like I said, I can't literally walk around the block without the sensation and the pain and the potential trigger of a heart attack. I'm wearing a thing called a life vest that if I do go down, it shocks you back. It's a portable defibrillator.
Oh, wow.
And they say, you're a great candidate for the surgery, which is where they actually go in and they repair the condition. They cut the heart, they relieve the pressure off of the artery, and it works in most cases. Then I said, I'm in. Let's go. So I had my proper testing over the course of Thanksgiving that year. And then I had my surgery in January 4th. And I come out and I'm like, I feel kind of normal. After the open heart surgery and everything heals. I'm like, can I ride? Yeah, you can ride. do whatever you want to do. And I'm like, this is incredible. And I said, I've been so blessed to have been the beneficiary of this surgery. People need to know it exists. People need to know, first of all, that this condition, if you are having these symptoms, could be this condition. Let's make some noise. And since I do podcasts for a living, it's incumbent on me to get this story told. That's part of why I think this happened. And when I was in the hospital, I had this dream, and it was not the dream that most people experience of the white lights and maybe it's going to heaven and all that stuff. Mine was quite the contrary. Mine was Dante's Inferno, and I'm looking down on it, and I see this anguish and this pain and this horror. I'm looking down on it until I'm in it, and I realized in you don't know it's a dream when you're in it, and I'm if I don't get out of here, I'm dead. And that's what I recognized. I said, if I don't get out of this morass of pain and suffering and everything wrong with humanity, I'm done. And fortunately, I do, and I wake up and I realize, what a gift I've been given, and that's where I said I have to do something. Then there's two things I'm going to do. I'm going to help the people with this condition, and I have to support the people who are suffering in our community. And I've got the platform because I had already been doing the nonprofit podcast network, just pro bono, unintentionally, and that was the trigger for both of these programs. So that's Imperfect Heart. It's Imperfect Heart. The byline is Stories of Myocardial Bridges. We've been doing that now for almost 3 years, and 50 some episodes out there. And the stories we get on that platform are amazing. They're just amazing. And we speak with doctors and patients in all varying stages of their process. And the doctors are the doctors who are ones that are performing the surgery, of which there's not many in the country. And it's growing. We're seeing it change. There we can measure our impact. You asked about impact with some of the organizations. With this podcast, we can see the impact. And we hear it from the people. We hear it from the doctors. We've spoken with people all over the world. We've spoken with doctors all over the world, and Stanford and Mayo and Cleveland Clinic and University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and just these really, really high-level, authoritative hospital systems that are performing the surgery that is making a difference in people's lives. And the thing about Imperfect Heart is, my contention, and every doctor I've spoken with, is it's killing people. And when they die from it, in many cases, it just looks like it was a common coronary artery blockage. But the only way they identify that it was a myocardial bridge is on autopsy. So, how can you tell me it's not killing people? Well, it was the clot. It was the narrowing of the artery. Well, it was the narrowing of the artery where it goes into the heart, which happens 100% of the time. 100% of the time it narrows. And it can cause problems as well, because it causes turbulence in the blood. It causes deposits to accumulate more rapidly where it's narrowed. And so I'm screaming. And that's the purpose of Imperfect Heart.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that, Jeff. And one of the common questions that we'll ask our guests is, what is the source of your inspiration? And what is the vision? So perhaps we could take that story, and I think it all overlaps to what you're doing in the nonprofit podcast network as well. Perhaps we could dig into both of those things. Obviously, through what you're doing in the nonprofit podcast network, the goal is to help support these nonprofit organizations that are helping those who are hurting in our community. So can you speak to both of those things a little bit more?
Sure. And I think you can see the parallels.
Yeah.
They're both there for the greater good. One is very personal, and it's there for the individuals who are suffering from this particular disease. And it's to literally change the way our medical community views this condition, as well as support those who have it, to say, hey, no, there's something wrong with you. It's not in your head. Don't allow dismissal. Keep going, because if you have the symptoms aren't being identified, you're a perfect candidate. If you have these heart attack-like symptoms. So for Imperfect Heart, it's exactly the intent of its service. On the flip side, it's the same thing for our community. It's looking at all the good that's being done in our community from these organizations that need to be seen and heard. They're doing great work. They've got great stories. They have huge impact in the community. And if it's X, can we make it X plus by getting their story on a platform where it can be easily shared, it can be easily found, it can be easily heard and or seen, to where now they have the ability to push and to share instead of singly, one at a time, digitally, virtually, literally thousands, tens of thousands at one time.